Hello everyone. Well, I got 3 horror books for you today, and what I really love about the horror genre is that you can write literally about everything. You can come up with some kind of new creature, something you've never read before. People can take creatures that we're all familiar with and just change them around just enough or put them in a different setting that really sets things off. And that's what we got here with these 3 fantastic horror books, and I can't wait to share them with you. But as a reminder, I have horror books for sale, and if you want to read any of the books you see on your screen, they're only $1 each at the link in the description. Be sure to check out my Patreon page starting next month for only one small fee every month, only 1 tier. You're going to get some free short horror stories exclusive to Patreon. You're going to get some exclusive videos just for Patreon, and exclusive polls and other things as well. So be sure to check that out. And don't forget your Read More Horror t-shirt. There are many colors and sizes available, and there's a link down below for that also. All right, let's get started. So the first book I want to talk about today is called The House of Last Resort. When I first read about this book, I thought it was going to be another haunted house story, and it kind of is. But this one's very, very dark, and it goes to places far beyond just a haunted house. This is about an American couple who moves to a small town in Sicily. They are going to be expats. They are going to move their lives there because they got in a deal, and I'm sure you might have read about these deals in real life and in different newspapers. But they could buy a house in this town for only $1 if they promise to stay there 5 years and spend at least 50,000 euros to fix it up and make it compliant with the law. So basically you got all these fixer-uppers in an area that tourism doesn't get to, and they invite people to buy a house there for just $1 and hopefully live a happier, more peaceful, calm life. And that's what they're hoping for. They're hoping that this is going to be their new forever home and they can make it work. Now the husband, he has family there. He has grandparents. And he's been to the city twice, so people do know him. But for some reason, his father had a falling out with his grandparents many years ago that resulted in them not speaking much. So he's not exactly a first-timer like his wife, but they're still very excited to start their journey. And of course, things are going to go horribly, horribly wrong. We're going to find out exactly why that phrase comes up at some point, where people call his house the house of last resort. They start hearing things. They start seeing things out of the corner of their eye. Strange events start happening. Some of the neighbors, and even his grandmother, when she sees which house they bought, she is very, very upset and tells them that they should not be in that house. They should not have bought that house for some reason, but nobody's coming forth with any information as to why. They're just sending them all these weird vibes. But when they start talking about this house being called the House of Last Resort, that's where things are going to get weird, because this deals with something far beyond just a regular ghost or a regular haunting. We're dealing with things like catacombs underneath the old church, and come to find out underneath their house. The house was owned by the Catholic Church at one point, where it's got its name. But wait until you hear why and what that's going to mean for this couple, because it's much more horrific than just a simple ghost story. Yeah, this book is very, very frightening. I love the hell out of it. It's written wonderfully. You really get into that small Sicilian town, you know, and all the deep secrets it has. And as this couple experiences terror after terror after terror, it's fantastic. I cannot recommend it enough. And of course, there's a link down below where you can pick up your copy through Amazon. And next we have Down in the Hollow. This takes a familiar trope, a creature we're all going to be familiar with, but it puts it in a very unique setting. During the early 1900s, when cars were just beginning to dot the landscape instead of horse and buggy, but mainly it's still an Old West kind of setting. And this is set in, I believe, East Texas or West Texas, but wherever. That atmosphere is everything in this book. You really get the sense that they're in the Old West. All these characters, they have the drawl, you know, and it's a sleepy, kind of easygoing kind of town. And there's two boys. Well, there's a man who has two boys. He also had a daughter, but his daughter went missing like 10 years before, and they never found her. They never found any bones or her body. But one day the boys find an abandoned well in the woods, and when they look down there, as boys curiously will do, they found a head. And so the first thought is, this could be the missing girl from 10 years ago. But it's not going to be, and things are going to get really wild. They're going to get very vicious, very bloody, and very quickly. And when it becomes apparent that there is something going on here beyond anything natural that these people can think of, the body count's going to start getting really high. These creatures, whatever they are going to be revealed. And let me just say this, at one point you have a creature who has no head, but still able to walk around, kind of being controlled by another creature who has their head, and just causing death and destruction and mayhem. Just because it doesn't have a head does not mean it can't mess you up, because it can. And you got all these horrifying creatures running around. And the thing is, we start out with somebody you think is going to be the protagonist throughout, and then this also does a great job of turning that around. And pretty soon all these people are dead, and you realize that it's going to be left up to the sheriff, the doctor in town, and the undertaker to try to figure out if they can stop this thing, and if so, how. Because once they realize what's going on, it's really beyond any of their scopes, and it's just a great epic western tale of horror. And yeah, you'll feel the dust on your face, and you'll smell the horses as they're riding them back and forth, you know. It's just a great setting. And like I said, they take a familiar creature, but they turn it around and make this more of a character-based horror story while still giving us enough blood and gore to satisfy that craving as well. I absolutely love this book. And yes, of course, I highly recommend it to you, and there is a link where you can purchase your copy. Next we have The Legend of Charlie Fish. Yeah, again, think if Creature from the Black Lagoon meant the Wild West, and yeah, just think along those lines, and you'll kind of get the idea of this fun, quirky, but still disturbing and very creepy, shorter kind of horror novel. And this is about a man and his daughter, I'm going to say, who they find a fish man. That's basically what it's about. I don't know any other way to say it, but that's true. He appears human. You know, he has human body features, but he's covered in gills. He's covered in scales. He can't really speak a human language. And they find him and they befriend him, save him from a couple of people who want to use and abuse him for the sake of a traveling freak show. And that's going to have its consequences, because these are some very bad men, and they are going to follow this family to their boarding house in the town they live in, because they believe that they start calling this guy Charlie Fish, this fish creature. And they want him for their sideshow. They want to use him to make money, and they don't care about him at all. So to them, he's an abomination. He's a monstrosity. But the thing is, Charlie Fish is not really the bad guy. But we're going to find out that when you push him far enough, and when he gets really angry, he can be pretty terrifying. You do not want him on your bad side. But this is a story about this family befriending this creature, and you got all these interesting, complex characters, and we're going to find out things about each of them as we go along, including the woman that owns the boarding house. She has a very interesting story arc in here. And really, this is about a friendship between this fish man And this group of humans, while you know, other people are trying to exploit him. So you can think also maybe along the lines of you know, Frankenstein's monster, or Phantom of the Opera, you know, or something along that line. And it's a very well told, very emotionally packed, but of course a very creepy story, because like I said, when this thing gets pissed, well, all bets are off, and he can certainly do some damage. But you're absolutely going to love it. It's a fantastical, well-told story. It's one I really, really enjoyed, and of course I highly recommend it to you. And as always, there's a link down below where you can pick up your copy, and I do recommend it. And as always, I want to say thank you for taking some of your time and spending it here with me. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.